Welcome to episode 2 of Bat Knit Crazy. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Bat Knit Crazy. Welcome back to my channel. I am Maggie and I will be your host, and as you may be able to see, I am wearing my finished Ruska cardigan. Now, I will say a couple of things about this pattern. First of all, I am super happy with it. It is very soft because of the yarn that I used. It's lightweight, it's cozy. I have nice pockets here. It stretched out when I blocked it a little bit longer than I was anticipating, but I don't think it's too long. I actually am quite pleased with the length that it is. It seems to fit pretty much the way I wanted it. The sleeves also stretched out. They're a little bit on the long side, but that's okay. I actually prefer my sleeves longer. I would much rather they be, you know, an inch or two longer than I want them to be than be hitting me, you know, here and not being able to pull them down to cover my wrists. I like to have my hands partially in my sleeves, or at least I like to have the option of that. So as a reminder, this is the Ruska cardigan by Opie, and I used, hold on, let me check my knitting book so I can tell you exactly. This was, flip another page, there we go. This is DK weight, 85% Surrey alpaca, 15% merino, from the company Alpacas de Vos, and it is in the color turkey red marl, and I am in love with it. I'm absolutely in love with it. Now, a few things about the pattern. I'm one of those people, and I don't remember honestly if I mentioned this in last week's episode or not, but I'm one of those people that almost never knits the same pattern twice. It's just not something that I do. There's too many different things that I want to knit, and I don't want to make the same thing over and over again. That being said, someday, way in the future, way out there, I could see myself potentially making this again for a couple of reasons. One, I think my yarn choice for this was not ideal. Now, I love the way it turned out. It's really soft because of the Surrey. It's quite warm, which is what I wanted from like a cozy cardigan. But structurally, because I used alpaca instead of using a yarn that has more strength and more structure to it, it is kind of floppy, right? And especially in places like the pockets, I'll try to hold this up so you can see, there is a little bit of, I don't know how to describe it really. It's just, it's drapey to the point where I feel like if I actually put something in this pocket, it would just totally distort the whole sweater. And also something that I noticed with the edging as it was blocking is the edging really wanted to stretch out in places and not be nice and smooth. I think I did manage to get the edging pretty smooth, but if I had used a different yarn that had more strength to it, I think structurally it would just look different. It would look a little bit more polished. And I think with the way that this is designed with the very, as they say, tailored English shoulders, I think you would see some of the, I'm having a hard time. I am getting better at figuring out which way I'm supposed to go in the camera. But I think some of the detailing on the shoulder would stand out a little bit more, and maybe just look a little bit more polished in a different yarn that just had more structure to the yarn itself. I also would say this is not a beginner knit. It is not a beginner knit. Now, that's not to say that if you are an adventurous beginner, avoid this pattern at all costs. I'm not saying that at all. I firmly believe that you can do whatever you want to in knitting. It just takes patience and time, right? But there are definitely some things about this that are very different in terms of construction and technique and just the way that this is all put together, that I don't want to say I found it challenging, but I've been knitting for a while. I've knit a lot of things in my life, and there were times when I was just having to tell myself, just trust the pattern. It'll all make sense at some point. So it may be a little bit intimidating if you are not as familiar with knitting, you're not as confident. But that being said, once it all worked out okay, and once I sort of understood where the pattern was going and how things were going to be fitting together and all of that, it was a very enjoyable knit. And I think that's one of the reasons why I could see myself maybe potentially way off in the distant future making this again, because I think I would enjoy it more now that I know how it all comes together and I know what to expect. I will also say the bind off on this, I did not find enjoyable. But it was my first time doing a, what do you call it? What do you call it? What's the word? The thing that you do. What is it called? It'll come to me. It's not, I want to say provisional, but I know that's not the right word. I know somebody's yelling it at me at the screen right now. It's another word for basically an Italian bind off. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's not coming to me. But it's like a sewn bind off to make it really stretchy. And it does make quite a stretchy bind off, right? So just to show you on the cuff like how stretchy it is, which is really nice. But you can kind of see, I mean, you can see my hand through this. So you can tell the yarn that I selected is pretty thin. It's very fluffy. But it is definitely a very loose, it provides a loose gauge. So anyway, the bind off of this is one kind of bind off for this little front edge, and the same kind of bind off all the way around the back, which I did screw up in one place, but I was not about to try to go fix it. And then there's Kitchener grafting on the pockets, and like it's not easy. It's not super hard. As I pull my chair closer, it's not super hard, but it is. It's not a simple top-down raglan with no body shaping, and yeah, that's not. If that's what you're looking for, this is not your pattern. If you're looking for something that's a bit more challenging, that you're going to have to kind of go, all right, we're on an adventure. Don't know where it's going to lead, but we're going to go. Then maybe this is exactly the right pattern for you. So that's all I'm going to say about this. But I did get it done in time to wear it on my upcoming trip to California. I am actually due to leave for the airport in a little over an hour. So done, blocked, ready to go. This is what I'm wearing to the airport. But I wanted to make sure that I had some time to talk with you guys before I do that, because there's a lot of other things that are going on that I wanted to share with you. So let's get right to it. Last week, I talked about my Sweet Shop blanket, which I have made some more progress on. I'm not going to show that one today. It is in a pile. Where is it? Right there behind me. It's sort of folded up back there. But I want to talk to you about another Sweet Shop-esque blanket. I'm not calling it a Sweet Shop blanket because it is inspired by the Sweet Shop blanket, but it is not done to pattern. So, story time with Maggie. So last spring, I was in London. I have there's a Fluff. Surprise, surprise, there's a Fluff. I have the honor and privilege for working for a company that allows me to go to a conference every year that occurs in the UK. And so while I was in London last spring for this conference, and then adding on a few days of PTO because when in London, right? There is a yarn store in London. There's actually several that I really, really enjoy going to. One of which is called Beautiful Knitters, which I found and went to the first time just shortly after she opened the store. And it is a beautiful store. And I've been there a couple of times now over a few years. And it's been really interesting to see how the store has grown. So I'm looking forward to going back to Beautiful Knitters again. But the other one is called Loop London. And I adore Loop. And it is just, it's such a beautiful store, and it's on such a lovely little sort of side street. Like it's just a pedestrian like walkway with little shops on either side. There is a crepe store at the end of the sort of down like a block. There's a place you can get crepes, and always go there, get my smoked salmon and cream cheese crepe, and then go to Loop. And last time I was there, I bought a box. This is the box of tiny little balls of 21 different colors of this fingering weight yarn that is pure Shetland wool. It's by a company called the Border Mill. It's their North Coast tweed. And it is pure Shetland yarn inspired by Scotland's far north coast. And I do believe that it is in, it's from, like the mill and everything is in Scotland. So they had this little box. Now this is the extension box. So they had a big box that was like 50 colors. And then they had this box, which was 21 colors. And between those two boxes, you have all of their colors. And these are little 10-gram sample balls. Now, when I bought this, I had no idea what I was going to do with it. No clue what I was going to do with it. But I thought, it's 21 colors. I like doing color work. I'll come up with something, right? At the same time, I bought a kit to make a wrap with yarn from the same company, full-size balls of yarn from the same company. And by full size, I mean 50 gram, because that's how they sell them. I started working on that wrap. Now, what I will say about this yarn, it is beautiful. I adore it. I love the colors that it comes in. But it is, what's the term everybody uses for yarn that's just way scratchier than you actually want to wear? Rustic. Let's use that word. It's rustic. And even though it was a wrap that I would potentially wear over other clothes, it's not like I was making a sweater out of it. I was about a third of the way through this wrap, and I kept putting it down and not wanting to work on it because I was like, I'm never going to wear this. I'm never going to use it. it's not the kind of thing that I want to have wrapped around me. Now, part of that may have been the stitch pattern for the wrap. It's a beautiful wrap. It's called the Crepe Myrtle wrap. You can look up the pattern on Ravelry. And I bought the kit for it, which came with all the yarn and the pattern. So the wrap was not gonna get worn. It's a lovely stitch pattern, but I think the stitch pattern was exacerbating how scratchy the wool was. And when I found the pattern for the Sweet Shop blanket, I thought, that's great, because each little triangle takes like 10 grams. I have 21 colors of 10-gram balls. It's perfect. I can make triangles out of this. And the base color for the wrap that I was doing was this sort of oatmeal color. Now, most of the color names are Scottish, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce them. I have no idea what it's called. It starts with a B. But it's a lovely neutral oatmeal-y color that would look fine as the main color. But I didn't like the idea, because I knew I only had 21 colors, right? And I knew there were more colors. So I didn't want to be joining as I go, because I wasn't sure how I would want all the colors laid out once I eventually, my plan was eventually I will get the big box of 50 and then I'll have like 70 squares and that'll be my blanket. So I wanted to do all of the squares individually. So the entirety of the join as you go part of the Sweet Shop blanket, not doing it. I'm basically doing a foundation square over and over and over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter how experienced a knitter you are, sometimes your brain goes when you try to have a rational thought. And my brain chose to have that moment because I thought to myself, these are garter stitch squares. How am I going to be able to tell the difference between the front and the back when it comes time to put all of these squares together? I can make 70 garter stitch squares, but what if I don't get all the right sides together and then it looks weird? Just go with me. Just go with me on this journey. So what I decided to do, and this is my little next to the bed knitting basket where I have been accumulating these squares. So what I decided to do, personally, I think is genius, and I'm in love with it, and I'm so happy that I thought to do this. So this is one of my squares. I have not been weaving in the ends as I go, just so you're aware of that. There's ends sticking out. Ah! Ends sticking out. Okay, so we're over the shock. So this is what I decided to do. Now, I don't know how well you can see this. After my, just as a quick aside, after my last episode and I recorded, I realized that there is so much difference between what I see in the little camera monitor and what you see. Colors are actually quite accurate and the lighting seemed to be just fine. And things were clear and focused, so we're just going to go with it. I'm going to assume moving forward that that is the case. So this is what I have decided to do. Pardon the fluff. So as you might be able to tell, I put in right between the color change, just a couple of rows of stockinette. Now, I did say, I believe last time, that I am not really a fan of garter stitch normally because I like the happy little V's. That's my little Bob Ross moment. Only for me, they're happy little V's. So I now have happy little V's in the middle. I can easily tell that that's the back. Now, I know before you say it, I would have been able to tell the difference because even with garter stitch, you would still have this line. So I know. But in my brain at the time, I was like, I need something that's going to make sure that I know that this is the right side and this is the wrong side. So yeah. But what that has done is it has created a ridge. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but there is actually like texturally a ridge right down the middle. And it happens to be almost exactly the same width as my finger. So, and I love the way it feels to just like play with the square, and you can like slide your finger along the happy little V's, and it's just so, yeah, that stuck to the tape. That's all right. You know what I mean. Yeah, it's just, it makes me so happy. So this is the stack thus far of the squares that I have made with my box of 20 colors. Put some down. There's so many squares. I love the colors. They're not all my favorite colors, but they go together so well. They just work so well. And some of the blues that they have, like this one in particular, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see this because it is kind of subtle. But if you really look at this, it's like bluey greeny together. I don't know, it's just their colors have so much depth, especially the blues. The blues seem to be just really, really, I don't know, they're amazing. So this is where we are so far. I don't know how many that is, 18, 19. And they have been sitting in my next to the bed basket, just piling up. I have, these are the ones that I have left. So this one is still on the needle. Now this one I think ended up being more like a 9.5 gram ball, because this is where I ended up. This is how much I have done. And yeah, that's the end of my yarn. I just looped the end because I'm holding the two strands together. So when you get to the middle, there's just a loop, and that was the loop. So I'm not sure, this one might not make the cut because it's clearly a little bit too small. Even though literally this is the last row. I had, what, 8 stitches left. I was 8 stitches short. So I might rip back a couple of rows and just try to make it a little bit tighter just so I can squeeze that out. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet, but these are the colors that I have left from my 21 gram or 21 color set. And I'm not sure, I will definitely use this light blue one. Ooh, hair. I don't know if I'm going to use the gray, the brown, or the neutral. Here's why. Because I think what I want to do, instead of having 70, the reason I keep saying 70 instead of 71 is because one of the colors is the color that I'm using for my main color. And I'm not going to make a solid square. So I'm already down to 70, which means I could do the blanket 7 by 10, or I could cut it down a little bit more and make it 8 by 8. And I would need 64 squares. So if I do that, then some of these other colors that I'm not sure about, I might leave out. But anyway, I got to the point where I only had a few colors left and I wasn't sure. Like, these take between an hour and an hour and a half a piece to complete. I'm going to try to start telling you how long things take me to knit, because I think that's an important thing to highlight. We'll talk more about it in the future, but for now, we'll just say these take between an hour and an hour and a half, start to finish, to complete. But I was running out of colors, and in an evening, sitting in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, I can do half a square to a full square in an evening. So I'm flying through these, right? I mean, they're just trucking right along. but I was out of colors from my little box. So I got the big box. This just came in the mail last week and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So this is one of the things, okay, before I open this up, one of the things that I loved about the little box is it came with this color card, which has all the color names and all the little pictures of all of those. So this is actually going to go into my knitting journal on the page for my loop blanket where I like wrote out what I was doing pattern wise and the yarn I was using. I'm just going to stick this in here because I usually I put in the yarn tags and I list out the colors and all of that kind of stuff. And I was not going to do that for 70 colors. And I am so excited because of course this big box. Dun 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 dun. It also has a color card, but look at all these colors. Look at all these beautiful colors. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So excited. I just can't wait. I cannot wait to dive into this. You do not understand. I am so lucky that I have had like the Ruska cardigan to finish and some other stuff that I will be showing you, like, because as soon as this was delivered, I was like, must knit squares. So it also came with a color card for all of the colors that are included in the big box. So this will also go in my knitting book. And once I have that all done, at some point I'm going to give you a tour of my knitting book, but I want to get a little bit further into the year so there's a little more to look at. But this will definitely be going into my knitting book. And then what I didn't realize and what I think is so cool is that, and you can tell this is something that is for this store, right? So this is the London Loop little logo with the bunny, right? I don't know if you can actually get this anywhere else, which is why I'm calling this my loop blanket, because this is it's all yarn that I think, I could be wrong, I think loop is the only place that you can get it. But this surprised me and thrilled me beyond belief, because this is a map of the northern part of Scotland where all of these colors are inspired by, and it actually lists out all of the colors and shows you on the map where those places are. How cool is that? How cool is that? Now I think this might be just for the 50 that are included in the kit. The big set. I don't know that it includes the other ones, but still, it's amazing. So there's a color called, where is it? Castle of May. Okay, and that is going to be one of these. This one. Okay, so this color, just as a quick example and to educate you, and because I can pronounce Castle of May, assuming that M-E-Y is pronounced May, could be wrong, but so this color, this sort of orangey browny color, is called Castle of May, which is located right up here, way on the corner on this coast, northern coast of Scotland. It is a 16th century castle rescued from a ruin by the Queen Mother. How cool is that? I can't help it. I'm so enamored with this and I'm in love with this. And the more I look at this, the more I think I need to be dumping some of these into my purse for travel knitting, because I'm obsessed with these. And I could, on my flight, I could probably get 3 or 4 squares done today while I'm flying. But I do have other things to work on too. They're nice and small though, so I'm gonna have to think about that, and I may actually do a little bit of switching out of things in my purse for my travel knitting. But I'm so excited, and I really wanted to tell you about my loop blanket on the last episode, but I was waiting for this to come so I could show it to you, because I just think it's so cool. And what I will say is, knit in garter stitch or a little bit of stockinette, it does still have a slightly rustic feel, but I really think the main problem I was having was the stitch pattern on the Crepe Myrtle wrap. Because of the way it was being done, it wasn't baubles, but it almost ended up having it was very textured, and it had lots of like lumps and bumps that were very airy, and I think it was making it feel a lot scratchier than it is. So yeah, I'm in love with it. I am in love with it. So this is another work in progress. I never even said, okay, well, let's move on to works in progress. I'm very disorganized today. And just in case you were wondering, this right here, not real. I stuck it on there. I'm thinking about getting my nose pierced, and I kind of want to see how I like, do I like it? Which way? There we go. Do I like it? Do I not like it? I don't know. I was thinking about maybe getting my eyebrow pierced. I don't know. This is why little stick-on studs are brilliant. Because I can put it on, I can go, I can live with it for a few days and see. I did have my nose pierced years ago. Boogers become a problem. But that's complete aside. So let's get into other stuff. So last week I told you a very sad tale about a project that was not being ghosted, but not really getting the love-ins that she wanted. And that was my What the Fluff. And just as a reminder, we put our little progress keeper. Well, I am happy to report that her body is done. Her body is done. So since the progress keeper 2 weeks ago, actually it turned out to be 3 weeks ago, because getting this posted to YouTube took way longer than I thought. So it's actually been 3 weeks. But in that 3 weeks, I finished my Ruska cardigan, I got some squares done, and I finally got the bottom, I got the body finished. So I am going to take off this progress keeper, partially because it's kind of heavy, and I don't want it to end up pulling the yarn. I do think it's super cute. I made it myself. It's super cute. I love it. But it is kind of heavy because it's glass beads. Okay, so get that out of there and get that smoothed off. But I have tried this on, and I adore it. I love the way that it's fitting. Let me stand up. I could even put it on over my awesome t-shirt that I got on Etsy. All right, so let's try her on. Now this is a drop shoulder, and I've never done a drop shoulder sweater before. And obviously the neckline is way huge right now because it does have a neckband that gets put on. I think that's what I will do next. And the shoulders are wanting to roll up a little bit because that's what they do before you pick up the stitches. But I am actually really happy with how this is fitting, how it's feeling. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. So this is one of the things that I'm going to be taking with me to work on while I am in California. Because I just have, basically I just have the sleeves and the neckband, and then it's done. So yeah, and I did try this on previously. Before I started for the ribbing at the bottom, I did try it on. Oh, and I just lost my nose stud. See, this is why it's important to try it out. See if it's going to drive you nuts. Apparently it will. All right, so that was a fun little adventure that's over now. but I did try it on without a t-shirt, just like over a bra, and I wasn't finding it itchy, but then again I wore it for like 2 minutes. So, but that's how I determined that I liked the length. So at this point it is ready for neckband, which I think I'm going to do next because I don't know how much the neckband is going to cinch in the neck. And then I'll put the sleeves on after that, because then I'll be able to better gauge how long I actually want the sleeves to be. I don't want to do the sleeves first and then have it end up with the sleeves being too short, because once you put the neckband in, everything cinches up. So that's not the goal. And that is my What the Fluff cardigan. And the What the Fluff, or not cardigan, the What the Fluff pullover by Twin Stitches Designs. And I am using Dream in Color Smooshy with Cashmere and Rowan Kidsilk Haze. The Smooshy with Cashmere is called Fancy. The colorway is called Fancy. And then the Rowan Kidsilk Haze it's just a color number. Technically it's Plum, but it is color 718. Now, I was getting a little bit nervous that I wasn't going to have enough of this, because I only had, I think, one more. I was getting into either my last ball or my next to last ball of the mohair. And I was like, I'm not going to have enough mohair to do the sleeves, because the sleeves are kind of, they're not big, but they're not small. So I was able to find my local yarn store. When I bought this yarn, I bought them out of how much they had of this, because it was like a perfect color match, and I was like, okay, let's do this. So I found some more of it. There were several places I found online that I could order this kind of yarn, but not this color. So I finally found it at Jimmy Bean's Wool, and I ordered some other things. So we're going to slip into a couple of acquisitions, and then we're going to slip back into a disaster, and then we're just all over the place today. It's Bat Knit Crazy. What do you want? A couple other things that I picked up at Jimmy Bean's Wool. I am becoming a mohair freak, and I don't know why. I don't know how this happened. And I don't know if it's going to be just mohair, or I have some Surrey, but I have not tried it yet. But I'm trying to be cautious about mohair, because especially mohair that you buy online, you can't feel it. And I know some mohair can be very, very scratchy. So while I was shopping at Jimmy Bean's Wool, I found a couple other things that I wanted to pick up and just get like one of, just to try and see, okay, would this work? If I ordered more of this for a project, would I like it? And one of the things that I got is something that I hear people talk about all the time, it seems like, and that is the Sandusgarn Tin Silk Mohair, which I did not realize, but it is 57% mohair, 28% silk, and 15% wool. And I got this in a color 3161. I don't know, it had a different name. But it's sort of an oatmeal-y color. And I have some very specific yarn, a fingering weight yarn, that I'm thinking about doing something not exactly like What the Fluff, but sort of that same kind of idea of a fingering weight and a mohair. And I thought this might be a good color to go with it. And it would be. I'm just not sure I'm convinced about the yarn. So I don't know. I got one of them. We'll let it sit up on the mohair shelf. No, mohair shelf. That's the mohair shelf. That's the mohair and special fibers shelf. So we'll put it up there, and we'll feel it occasionally, and we'll squish it, and we'll rub it against things and see what we think. But maybe, I don't know. I also got, this is from Le Bien Ami, which I love. The entirety of the label, except for the little sticker that has the name of like the color and the yardage, is in French. So I don't know, but this color is called SeaGlass, and I heart it big time. I have such heart eyes for this. This is 547 yards, 70% mohair, 30% silk. And I just think it's gorgeous. Is it the best color on me? Probably not. But I am of that age where if I like something, I'm going to make it. And I don't care what people think. Besides, if I dye my hair like dark teal with purple, changes everything. It'd be fine. Unfortunately, Jimmy Bean's wool does not carry this anymore. It was on sale. And apparently they were like clearancing it out. Now I did find a couple other places where I could get some more of this in this color. So this is another one. I got one of them. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to figure out what I would do with it. But it's going to go up on the mohair shelf, and we're going to see what we can figure out to do with that. And then I got another skein from Le Bien Ami, which again, heart eyes, all in French, but this is their Merino DK, 100% superwash Merino, 252 yards for 115 grams. So it's a sort of almost like a heavy DK. You might even be able to get away with using it like light worsted, heavy DK. There's no rhyme or reason. In case you're ever confused by this, there's no like, if it's this many yards, it's this weight. That's not how it works. So you kind of have to look at it, feel it, decide for yourself, do a gauge swatch, do as I say, not as I do. Do a gauge swatch. But anyway, this color is called Tidal Sands, and I am in love with it. I think it is gorgeous. In case you've not been able to tell by now, which maybe you haven't, blues and greens and purples. There's no purple in this, but there's lovely blues and greens in this. Those are like some of my very favorite colors. And I just think this is gorgeous. This is the kind of thing that I might actually just order enough of this to make a sweater. But this is the kind of thing that I would choose to make a pretty plain sweater with, which we're going to get to in just a second. But I love making sweaters with color work. I love making sweaters with interesting stitch patterns, cables, lace, whatever. But you have to select your yarn carefully, in my opinion, because if there's a lot going on with the yarn, and this isn't even a lot going on with the yarn, but there is definitely color variation and differences in the way that this is going to sit. To me, to use a yarn like this for a really intricate pattern is going to be too much. There's going to be too much happening. You're probably going to lose the stitch pattern, because what people are going to see first is the color, and that can sort of, especially with things like cables, it can really detract from the intricacy of the pattern. So I would choose a fairly simple, probably stockinette or mostly stockinette style pattern to do with this yarn. But I want a sweater in this. I want a sweater in this. It's so squishy and it's so soft and it's amazing. So there are some acquisitions from Jimmy Bean's wool. Oh, let's do one other finished object, and by finished object I mean mostly finished object. So while I am in California, I will be meeting with my team. I have 3 wonderful, amazing women on my team who I manage, and 2 of them are from out of the country. One of them has never actually even been to the US before. Sorry, let me get situated. So I'm like super, super excited to meet them and to see them. And so I decided that I wanted to make them cowls, because cowls are pretty easy, and winter, everybody can use a nice cowl, right? So before you think, how did you get these knit too, along with finishing your Ruska cardigan, working on your 2 blankets that you've got going, doing 8 inches or 10 inches of the What the Fluff cardigan, like how did you do this? These were done on a knitting machine. I don't remember the brand, the cheapy little pink and white knitting machine that's on Amazon for like $30 or $40. And I started working on these, and that machine was giving me so many headaches. So many headaches. It was not working. Things were like, stitches were being dropped. The machine was making weird like crunching noises. I was like, this is not going to work. So for various reasons, which I won't get into, I like having a knitting machine. Mostly it has to do with Wool of Bat, my indie yarn brand, and being able to make samples quickly to show what something looks like knitted up. So I broke down and ordered the Addy king size or whatever it is knitting machine, which is basically the same thing as the little pink and white one that I had, but much better quality and actually works properly, and has a counter that actually functions properly. So these, I'm not going to totally unwrap them. Well, I can. I have left a long tail on all of them because I still need to Kitchener them together, which I can do pretty quickly and easily in the hotel room. But this is one of them. So I have one lady who likes green, light, like spring green. So this is one. And this one I did out of Making Tracks 100% American wool by Junction Fiber Mill that I found at my local yarn store. And the color is called Summer Shade, which I think is so pretty. I'm going to pop this back into the bag. The bag that happens to be from London Loop. It's a great bag. I have an obsession with project bags and getting project bags when I go to stores and they have like a project bag that has their store brand on it. I'm obsessed with that. I love that. This is the second one, which is a chunkier wool. So that was a DK weight. This one is a chunkier wool. This is Feederbrook Farm, chunky. It's just in colorway 15, but it's lovely blues. She said she liked sky blues, and I thought that was very pretty. So that is for that one. And those are for my 2 out of the country ladies. And where they live, it does get cold in the winter. And then the other lady on my team actually lives in the southern US, and it does not get super cold. She has moments of cold, but not like cold. And she likes red and black. And so for this one, this is actually 2 fingering weights held together. One of them is Malabrigo Sock in Ravelry Red. The other one, I actually don't have the tag here, but it is like a merino and tencel blend. So this is super smooth, super smooth. Now, I will say the knitting machine did an odd thing on this one. And I have this one section of red, get the tail out of the way. This one section that is more red and the rest of it is more marled. And I'm really okay with that because it goes back to the marl, and then when I graft it together, there's just going to be one little spot that she can put in the front, or she can like twist up interestingly to highlight the red. I don't know why it did that. I was not trying to get it to do that. I think it just had to do with the way the yarns were twisting as they were going into the knitting machine. All of a sudden they decided, oh, we've been mostly black for a while, so let's go red. Why not? That sounds fun. So they did. And I think it's super cute. So I have my needle and scissors and everything packed to take with me so that I can get these Kitchenered together. And then I have some nice little gift bags and stuff for them as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And because we're going to be there over Valentine's Day, I think I'm going to have the ladies out for dinner on Valentine's Day, and then I'll give them their little, because that'll also give me like 3 days to make sure they're done. But in addition to this, in addition to just Kitchenering these together, I also have, I need to make sure that I put this over here so I take it with me and don't forget it. I also have some tags that I'm going to be adding. Now, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. I'm not going to do like an overhead, I'm not going to do like an overhead thing for this. But I don't have a tag on this sweater. Now I have ordered tags a couple of times from this Etsy supplier. The Etsy shop is Leather Tag Goods. They are based in Ukraine, and I have ordered tags in the past, mostly for things for Wool of Bat. So I have a couple of different styles of tags. This is one that I ordered because the ones that I had previously were all brown, and I wanted some black ones for Wool of Bat just so that I can color coordinate the tags a little bit more with the actual item. But I like to have a little tag that identifies it as being Wool of Bat. Now, I don't sell items knitted from Wool of Bat, but as like samples and things. So the tag itself, I don't know if you'll be able to read it, but it just says Wool of Bat in black. And then what you do is it comes with rivets, and you can select what color rivets you want, and you pop your rivet in one side like that. You fold this over the knitting and through it, and then there's a little back piece to the rivet that you put on, and you just squeeze it, and then you have your little tag. And I love them. I've ordered, as I said, I've ordered from them several times. They do a phenomenal job, and everything that I've gotten from them has just been lovely. I also ordered some like bag bottoms and stuff, which I have not actually had occasion to use yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But all of the ones that I had said Wool of Bat, and I only use those on things that I have knitted using Wool of Bat yarn. So I got some made that just say knitted by Maggie. Sorry if I'm shaky. I've had a lot of coffee. So I have some knitted by Maggie ones, and this sweater does not have a tag yet. So I'm going to pop one on, and I usually put them on the left. Because there is a pocket here, I'm going to put it on so that it is like right at the edge of the pocket, like that. I'm just going to fold it over. So I've got it through there. Pop that on. Is that deep enough? No, I want it a little bit deeper. So we'll pull it up a little bit more and then get it folded, put through. Does that look good? Looks good. I'm gonna pop the back of the rivet on there and squeeze. Give it a little bit of a crimp. Done. Knitted by Maggie. And now my cardigan has, which way do I go? This way. Has my little tag on it. It's so cute. I love it. So I do have a couple of these packed up so that I can add these to the cowls when I have those completed. Okay, just a couple more acquisitions and then I have a disaster to share with you. It's not a disaster. It's not a disaster. But couple more acquisitions. I got some super cute stitch markers. And these are from A Needle Runs Through It. And they sent me as a little bonus a little stitch marker that of course doesn't want to show you its face. It says make all the things. Love it. I got several little sets of stitch markers. This was the one that initially caught my eye, and two of them are missing because I've used them. They're in projects. But these, I'm going to try to like stretch them out so you can see them. But these are all spinning related stitch markers. There's two more in this set. Super cute, which I got as the lobster clasp, so I can use them like as progress keepers and things. And then these are going to be hard to spread out, but I will do my best. These are more like functional. I mean, all stitch markers can be functional, but they say, can I hold these down so they'll stay where I put them? Maybe. So we have right side, wrong side, front, back, left, right, which I just thought, perfect. That's useful. That's useful. Sometimes you want your stitch marker to remind you what you're doing, right? And then these are why I absolutely had to order. Because one thing that I have noticed when I am knitting these little squares is when you are, so you start here, right? And you're doing increases on the right side. And then when you get to here, the decreases happen on the wrong side. But it can, when you're flying along, it can be tricky to make sure that you've actually covered your bases and you're on the right, you're on the correct side to do whichever one it is. And so, so I ordered these. No, I could actually wear these as earrings. But I'm going to use them as stitch markers. They're right side and wrong side. It's the little front and back of the sheep. I love it so much. Oh my God, I love it. It makes me so happy. And the little front side of the sheep does not have a back side on the other side, and the little back side does not have a front side. So it's not like you're going to get them confused. Like there is a front one and a back one. I couldn't stop myself. I could not. Once I saw this, I was like, yes, I'm ordering from them right now. Smash the pay button because, oh my God. So cute. So anyway, those are from A Needle Runs Through It, which is available on Etsy. Love, love, love. Okay. One more acquisition. And then, yeah, this little baby came just a couple of days ago. So, backstory. First of all, as I've said, I'm obsessed with project bags and little like tool bags, project bags of all sizes, shapes, descriptions. I adore them. And when I got into watching YouTube, there was a podcast that I got To me, podcast means something else, but everybody uses that word. So I'm trying to call things channels, but when they call them podcasts, it confuses me. There was a channel that I really enjoyed watching called The Prickly Stitch. And it was hosted by Haley, who is known as Lock Knits. And I do not remember her real name, but the name that everybody called her was Sock. And I adored this show. And one of the things that I adored about this show was they knit a ton of stuff that was black. Now, I will say, and I don't know if anybody associated with this will ever see this, but the lighting situation was not ideal. And so it did make it very hard to see the intricacies of their gorgeous black knits. But it did really inspire me to knit some things in black, because everybody will tell you, oh my gosh, black is the worst thing. Don't ever knit anything in black because you won't be able to see it. It'll be awful. But they've really inspired me, and I really, really want to make something in black, and I will be making something in black very, very soon. Probably a bunch of things in black because I like to wear black. Anyway, that show ended, and Haley, Lock Knits, started her own channel, which I am equally obsessed with. I adore her. I someday want to get a tattoo from her. I do not know her. I've never spoken to her. I hope to change that at some point in the future. But on her latest episode, she said that she was going to be closing down her Etsy shop. And she, in addition to knitting and tattooing, makes little bags, which I think are so cute. And so when she said that, I was like, okay, I need to go and order a bag because I want one of her bags because they look great. And so I got this little Christmas cookie one. Look at it! Look at it! Isn't it so cute? And I love that it's not just like gingerbread men. There's like mittens and stockings and snowflakes and deer heads and ornaments, and it's so cute. It has her little Lock Knits thing. And then on the inside, it has this super sweet little pink fabric with little white dots. I just think it's so cute. It's so cute. And I'm very happy that I was able to get one of her bags. This will be the bag, long story, but every other year we go to St. Louis for Christmas. And we go for like a week to visit my husband's family. And I always take knitting. Like I take like basket projects. And this I will use every Christmas for my little tools. This will be my little tool pouch for my Christmas knitting. And I'm in love with it. I think it's so cute. And I'm actually going to put all these stitch markers right in it because they will become cat toys if I don't. So we're just going to tuck those in there. Okay. So, oh, one other thing. Sorry. One other thing before we get to the disaster, which is going to be the last thing that we talk about today. I don't know how long we've been recording. About an hour. With edits. It'll be fine. Flying with knitting. I see this come up a lot on various Instagram, Facebook groups. A lot of people are get very nervous and very worried about flying with tools for knitting. I have flown quite a lot. Not a ton, but I generally have 2, 3, maybe 4 flights a year for various reasons. And I always take knitting. And I have never had an issue. That being said, domestic travel within the US can be different from international flying. The only international travel I've done has been to the UK, and I've never had an issue. But what I will say, I have heard some stories about folks who have flown to Mexico or like South America, Central America, and they have had some bad experiences not going to those places, but getting through security in those places to come back to the US, where they've had things like knitting needles and scissors confiscated. But within the US, according to the TSA, you are allowed to have knitting needles in your carry-on or in your checked baggage, and you are allowed to have scissors in your carry-on as long as the blades do not exceed 4 inches. It's on the TSA's website. You can look it up. So if you are going to be doing any traveling this year within the US, please be assured you should not have any problems. Now, that is not to say that you will not get a new TSA agent or somebody who's having a bad day or somebody who forgot that rule who is going to give you a hard time. I'm not saying that you will never ever have an issue. I have never had an issue. I'm going to knock on some wood because I'm going to the airport in a little bit and I don't want to have an issue. But I will say, I have a set of an interchangeable set in my checked baggage, and then I also have a set in my carry-on, just in case, because I cannot go a week with no knitting. I will die. Okay, that's a bit dramatic, but I would not have as good a week with no knitting. So, I also generally like to have a project. This is my project bag from String Theory, which I believe was, I don't know if it's still open. COVID changed a lot of things. I don't know if all the yarn stores that I have bags from actually still exist. I know there's a couple that don't. I think they are in Illinois, Chicagoland suburb area somewhere. String Theory yarn store. Anyway, in here, I have my yarn for a new project that I am starting on. I actually bought the pattern at the local yarn store for the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry because I thought, nice, small project, no big deal. And I have the yarn that I am using for it in here. 3 balls. Let me go to that page. So these are all from 29 Bridges Studio, made in Maryland, which was a new brand for my yarn store to be carrying. This is their DK MCN, which is merino cashmere nylon. So it's 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, and 10% cashmere. The blue one is the colorway Tahoe. The multicolored one over here is the color SeaGlass. And then the brown one, the sort of coffee color one, is called Setter. So these are what I am doing to make my shift. I do have a bit of it. I started it last night with my cute little sheep stoppers. Oh my God. I love them. But I'm all over the place today. I can't tell if I'm caffeinated enough or not caffeinated enough or over caffeinated. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. But I did start on it last night. I mean, just the first few rows, just to show that, yes, in fact, I'm knitting. Because I do like to have, I don't want to just take needles and yarn. I generally prefer to have a project started, just so if there is any question about, well, what is this long cable with pointy, like, it's knitting. And then this is my little travel bag that I put together with my wool of bats on it. My little wool of bat zipper pull, not available for sale. My mother was kind enough to make me a few of these. But so I have my little scissors, short blades. They're like 2 inches, should be fine. I always have Post-it notes. More on that someday when we go through like a knit kit. Tape measure, and then a little tin in which there's a little tin with stitch markers and yarn needles, Yeah. And then more Post-it notes. And then this is where I have my little tags for the cowls for my team, which they don't know about, but they're not going to watch this anyway. And then I have a little teeny tiny highlighter that lives in this little travel knit kit. And then a couple of needle stoppers. And then I do have, just as an emergency backup, these little tiny thread snips, which I don't prefer, but just in case. This should not be an issue. I would imagine this will not be an issue. But if it is, I do have a backup. So that is my little knit kit that I have that will be going in my purse. My carry-on has other knitting stuff. Basically my carry-on has pretty much all the other yarn and stuff that I'm taking. And then I have my pattern. So that's that. Oh, one other thing that I did want to talk about as another acquisition. Sorry, I'm all over the place and I have... Oh, we're not going to be able to get to the disaster today because I'm going to have to leave the house shortly. This bag I am obsessed with. This was another Etsy acquisition. It is from Heidi West Designs. And I'm obsessed. This is the 9-inch like bucket bag thing. I love the pattern of it. I love the color of it. It's nice and sturdy. It has this like thick bottom. It's canvas lined. It has my What the Fluff in it right now. And I'm in love. I'm in love with it. I want to take it with me. I might take it with me. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go and see how much stuff I can cram into my carry-on. Because I do, and if I take this out, I can squish it pretty flat. So I could take it with me. So then I could just, I could set it up in my hotel room with my project in it, and then it would be easier. So this is, okay, I'll do it quickly because I've been talking about it all day. So let me do a quick change and I'll be right back. Okay, so we need to talk about this sweater. This sweater is the Basic V by Mini Me Knit Design. And the color that I used, the yarn that I used, is my Wool of Bat Halloween exclusive color from 2023, which was this lovely gray and then speckled with lime green and purple and tealy blues in a couple of different shades and some darker gray, and I adore it. Okay, adore it. I made a size, what size? 6, which should have been appropriate for someone with a 50-inch bust. Now, my bust is not 50 inches. It's more like 48-ish. The finished bust circumference of this, had I gotten gauge, should have been 56.5 inches, which theoretically would have given me about 8 inches of positive ease. I have not blocked this. It is 100% superwash merino worsted weight. Did I do a gauge swatch? No, I did not. But my gauge was slightly bigger than the gauge that they said I should have had. I had 20 stitches for 4 inches and it should have been 18.5, which actually means that my gauge was tighter than intended. I ended up with 60 inches around instead of 56. I feel like I am swimming in this. It is supposed to be oversized, but I think this looks like I'm wearing a tent. I do not want to wear it. I have not blocked it. It is superwash. It's going to grow. It's going to get even bigger than this. I will say I love the V-neck. I love a V-neck sweater. I like the pattern. I just want it to be like 2 sizes smaller. It's gonna get frogged. It's gonna get frogged, and it's gonna get reknit at least 2 sizes smaller, because this is not how I want it to fit. Being a bigger person, things that are more oversized on me, I don't think look good on me. They make me look sorry, there's cats rustling if you hear things. To me, personally, I don't like the way they make me look. I feel that they make me look bigger than I am. And I just think this is not flattering. Like, this does nothing for me except make me look big and sloppy. Now, big and sloppy may work for some people. Also, the armpit is way low. My armpit is like up here. Not that I want it to be up here. I do like a little bit of room, but this is just, it's monstrous. So hopefully on the next episode, one of the things that you will be able to enjoy watching is the entire frogging process of this sweater. Because I do want to make it again. I want this sweater. I want this sweater. I want it to fit the way I want it to fit. I think I will do the same pattern, although I do have some other patterns for very similar, like V-neck stockinette body sweaters. But this is another thing that, like, this yarn I think works best with a plainer pattern, because you've got a lot going on with the speckling. And so that's weird. It's doing like, there's like a little, I hadn't noticed that. The way it pooled right there. It's like there's a little eye. That's all right. We can have boob eye. Not a problem. It won't be there when I redo it, because I'm going to redo it at least 2 sizes smaller. Yeah. So this is going to get frogged, and I am going to save that for when I can film the frogging process as either therapy or a horror show, depending on what your perspective is of frogging. But that being said, I do have to go because I need to get this put onto my iPad, and then I gotta jam because I gotta get to the airport on my trip. I'm hopefully going to have some video to share with you of the trip, and it should be good, it should be fun, and I will be working, but I will also hopefully be getting some knitting done, and maybe even getting to visit some knitting stores, which would be amazing. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful however long it is until we speak again. Thank you so much for watching. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Wool of Bat, or maybe Wool of Bat Yarn. I don't know, search both. I'm still new at this, okay? Cut me some slack. You can find my indie yarn shop at woolofbatyarn.com. And remember to keep making magic with sticks and string. I will talk to you again soon. Mwah!